Mark, Tanner, Jim, and Tate, get ready. You're next on episode 39 of the Ready Golf Swing Analysis Series. Good afternoon, Land Golf Academy members and guests, and welcome back to episode 39 of the Ready Golf Swing Analysis Series. For those that are new to this series, in this series we diagnose swing submissions, looking for cause and effect from our Reddit users. Now, you don't have to follow Reddit to submit a swing. If you want to submit a swing, you just send me a down the line and face on to the email in the link below, and I'll put it in the pipeline. Typically, it's 2, maybe 3 week wait as we get through this process. I do look at these swings for the first time here and now, so we keep this thing fresh and take a look at different ideas that we have. And as I always mention and will mention, this does not replace any sort of lesson or a real-time swing evaluation with a professional face-to-face. Nothing could beat that. Getting the range of motions, doing testing, body dynamics, ball flight fundamentals, all that stuff. We take a look at that. This is the second best I can do to help you out, and this is strictly for educational purposes. So with that being said, let me first guess where our next guest is from. He's Jim. Welcome, Jim, to the program. Just by looking at the background, I'm gonna have to say somewhere semi-dry southeast region. Let's go Atlanta, Georgia. And if I'm not, just say Wichita. Okay, let's take a look. Jim, he sent his notes. Appreciate your videos, subscriber. Thank you very much for subscribing. Obviously, different swings, different days. Okay, good to know. Journey miss with a hook. If I really remember to move my hips first and cock my wrists, I can hit a good one. All right, let's take a look here. Off the deck. Wow, that's a pretty aggressive swing to send me. 3-wood off the deck. Okay. All right, little lean back, little hang back. Definitely, fast hips. So look very strong, very athletic. So good thing with the athletes is they can get away with a lot more than myself, non-athletes. So you can time a lot of things better. You can get away with more. Okay, let's just take a look. Just from a fundamental point of view, let's draw some lines here. So we're going to check your ball placement based on that setup. And there's your spine tilt. So ball is slightly behind where it needs to be based on that setup. Now when it's behind and you can kind of see what's happening in your swing, you kind of hang back to make sure you still bottom out correctly. So it's a little bit of a premature forward press, but you compensate by moving off the ball and staying off the ball. We're going to put a right brace line here. And what we'll do is we'll put this straight up to the sky. Okay, so that's kind of where your center is based on that ball position, and that plays a key part here. And then that's your impact line. So if all things are good and settled in the way you set up correctly, your left hip should touch that impact line right before you strike the golf ball. Let's see what goes on here. Okay, good job with the right brace line. Getting the weight on the right side. That left leg coming up, I'm not sure if that's a flexibility issue. Sometimes I see left foot coming up because hip flexors aren't stretched enough. So I don't know if you have a previous injury, maybe not, but I definitely really recommend keeping both feet on the ground throughout most of the golf swing. You take a look at the modern day swing. Most of those guys and girls and high level amateurs and junior players keep their feet grounded through most of the swing. Only past impact, once you strike the golf ball, then you come up off your right side. But try and stay away from moving around too much because that starts to mess with your center. You can see this great power V you got going on here. So the angle is facing away from the target, so you can clearly see your weight getting over to the right side. Tiny bit of sliding motion. Hands and arms are a little bit high. I would imagine that they're above the plane line just by this view. As we can tell, there's a lot of spacing there, which is good for an iron, but not necessarily with a 3-wood when you're trying to, not really hit down with a 3-wood because the sole plate doesn't allow you to hit down like an iron, but it's okay. Let's take a look. This is the moment where I want you to kind of see is you're staying behind the ball. So there your weight is staying behind the ball because that ball position staying too far back when you initially strike it. So you've learned to keep your body behind the ball, but it's kind of inefficient because look at your hips now. In order to keep your body behind the ball, you've kind of learned to slide back to make sure you strike on that ball in the center of your setup. And as a result, you're now heavy on this right side. You're trying to push off. You can see your right heel's coming up. You're trying to push off, but it's more of a spinning fall back move. And then you just strike the golf ball. So I can imagine why you say you definitely, is it you hook? If I remember correctly. Yeah, it doesn't say. So why did I think you said that you hooked the golf ball? maybe I'm just imagining too much time in the sun. You see what that does to you? Okay, so I would imagine, if anything, you pull the golf ball, you might hook the ball out of this world, you might hit it perfectly. But when you have a dispersion of such a wide variety, and I would imagine your biggest misses are pretty wide, you have to look at what's causing that. Path issue, path is number one, club face is number two, and how do those two work in unison together? And can you keep that club face fairly secure, and the plane secure as well? But when your whole body, which supports the plane, which ultimately supports the club face, is moving around, it's really hard to time everything. So you can get away with, anybody can get away with anything if they're hitting out golf balls and get really good timing. But the problem with modern day people, we work for a living, we have families, some of us do, and we don't have time to do that. So hopefully that helps you. Let's take a look at down the line and see if that makes sense as well, because I have a feeling that we'll be able to see some more stuff down the line. All right, Jim, we're down the line now. Let's take a look at your swing first of all. And I think it's a different day. Last one you had a blue shirt. Oh yeah, definitely see those hands getting really high. That pulls your weight to your toes. You're stuck on the toes, standing up. Yeah, definitely some plane issues, pulling across the golf ball. So yeah, you definitely are fighting some pulls, some hooks, some blocks, and some great shots. And that's when your body gets confused. It's like, well, wait a minute, I'm swinging the exact same. How come I'm hitting all these different misses? And you get confused. So let's look at your planes. Pretty good setup from what I see here. Arms are hanging out fairly naturally. Your weighting is pretty good. You can see the back of the foot is supporting the hip, front of the foot is just supporting the outside of that hip. So pretty good setup here. Alignment's kind of tough to see with your dark clothing, but it kind of looks like that right shoulder's a little bit higher, maybe slightly open, but let's not get too detailed here. It's just a video, we can't really get too crazy, but let's take a look at that club face. So trying to get some turn, maybe the hips need to start turning more. Yeah, you're set up. Okay, so some counteractive forces going on here. So when your arms go low, it takes that club below the plane line. It could be a result of tilting issues, but if typically when you tilt, you also tilt forward as well, because your shoulders are tilting so far down, it pulls your upper body close to the golf ball, and then your weighting's off. So now your weighting's going to shift to your toes. So you see how your head kind of falls down, arms get pretty high, so that does look like a sign of too much tilt, and we can double check that. Let's put an angle there. It's about 90 degrees, give or take a few degrees. It's actually not too bad. You actually do a pretty good job of that tilting. So definitely look at the weight though. Look at your weight is falling to your toes, and look how much closer you are to the golf ball. And your head is falling into the golf ball much further down. Now if you go ahead and drop it in the slot and try and turn through, you'll miss the ball. So you started to develop some habits here. Arms are very high. So I would still like to maybe see stand maybe a little taller and get that left shoulder to kind of come up to help you stay balanced. Get more balanced and centered, because already you're shifting too close and then you've already lost, what is that, 3-4 inches. That makes a difference though, because as you come on down through, now you're trying to turn, but you need to create some room because you've crashed into the golf ball. So you start creating some room to make room for those hands and arms, which are going to be very steep, to create that area for you to turn. But you've done a great job turning, but there's no driving. Remember, because of that ball position, the ball position is too far back and relating to your setup. So in order for you to hit the golf ball, you've learned how to turn, stand up slightly, and fall back to make sure we still strike that golf ball. Club flexion looks a little bit peculiar too. All right, releasing. You can see look how much you moved into the target. Now you've got this kind of lean going on here. Your upper body's kind of leaning this way. So just a lot of manipulation by the hands and arms, because the core of your swing is just moving all over the place. So not only is it moving kind of incorrectly from our front view, but down the line view you can see you're moving incorrectly this way. So just really feel about stability. Stay on your feet at all times. Stay balanced. You need to feel like the golf swing, to me, and the best way I've just described this to the students, is feel like you're carrying a 100-pound potato sack and you're trying to turn around. Because if you're carrying a very heavy object, if you start moving like you do now, you'll be on the floor pretty soon with the potatoes all over the place. So you have to develop a good sense of balance, work on your core, work on your lower back, check your range of mobility, because you might have some issues with your hip flexors. But I hope that helps you, and I hope you are from where I said you're from, which I forgot already. Shows you how short-sighted I am. But Let me know how that helps. If you have any questions, comment box. Next up. All right, next up we have Tate. Tate, welcome. Welcome to the dungeon of education. No notes from you, just thanks for this. I appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Let's just take a look at this motion. The more notes you guys give me, the better I can do, specifically with how much injuries you may possibly have. All right. What's up? What else is here? Okay, just a little slow motion walk. Looks like a good commercial. Okay, already I see a lot of tilting going on. Club face is hooded shut in order to strike that golf ball with any sort of straight club face. Yeah, look at that left grip. Delayed release. You can't really release it from there. Okay, so if you release any of this, I would imagine you hit very steep. I mean, you probably take craters out of the ground. You're probably not the course maintenance guy's best friend. He probably follows you around. Do not allow this guy on the golf course. But I used to do the same thing, and it hurts your wrist, it hurts your clubs. You start delofting your clubs. You know, strange things happen. So don't practice on mats, whatever you do. So I'm glad to see you're hitting on turf. But definitely a strong grip. Ball position's a little bit too far ahead of you. You have some tilting issues, some weight distribution issues, release point because of that turning. You have to really get your body involved, which you do, but it's such a steep angle. You're kind of limiting yourself. So you're a strong person. You're clearly able to hit the golf ball a long way, but at what expense? Are you hurting your body by doing this? Which I would imagine in the long run, 10, 15 years from now, that swing probably won't hold up and you'll start to develop some body issues. So this is a tough one because it's a reliant swing upon so many things that have been mismanaged that you kind of formed a swing to develop. So if we start changing even your grip position, if we change your grip, your whole swing is going to fall apart and you're going to hit the ball worse than you ever have. If we change your setup, it might be okay. So I definitely focus on some setup stuff, some grip stuff, and then you can start working on, how do I turn and turn? But then we have to see what your flexibility is. I mean, maybe you have learned to tilt because your turning isn't quite there. And this is the only way your body is recognized you can hit the ball. So long story short is everyone's so unique. And when I look at a swing, I have to think about all this. And there's no notes, so I can't really just dive into that and start issuing you stuff because I might be doing so much more damage than helping you. So educational purpose, keep that in mind. Let's just get some lines going on here just to explain what's going on. So that right brace line, this angle's a little bit weird just because it's a little bit off to the right, but we can clearly see where that ball position is. You've put it on your front foot. You still have a forward press. I imagine your shoulders are a little bit open because of that forward press. Legs are pretty straight. It looks like your hands are really close. We'll have to see that down the line. Let's take a look at the head motion too, and let's see what goes on. We'll put it there. And then we'll do an impact line to see how we get down to that golf ball. And you can see your impact line. Your left shoulder's already covered your impact line. So this is very stack and tilt like. Extreme amount of tilt. That's a very close club face here. I mean, you get over there really nicely. I mean, you stack on that left side. So this is very stack and tilt. You stack on the left side. You're staying on the left side. And you drive the lower body. So your core fundamentals are really good. I think your grip is just really hindering you because if you weaken that grip out with that same sort of setup, you'll learn how to release the club instead of just holding on for dear life in fear of losing that golf ball left. You can see that club face is still kind of wanting to be released, but it hasn't quite released because you can't. So let's take a look at the down the line because I think that's going to open up some eyeballs here. All right, Tate, looking forward to seeing this one. Okay, so straight legs, just like we saw in that front view, you're definitely opening up the shoulders because of that ball position and your premature stack. Let's see what goes on with the swing plane. Yeah, just as I thought. Look at that tilt. Wow. Look at that club face. Yeah, very steep. That at the impact, that pre-impact position there, that is solid. Tiny bit of standing up. You can't really release it. So you play, I would imagine you're aiming, if this was you playing golf, I would think the pin would be here. And this is how you set up for that pin. You like that little pin because you are so used to pulling across the golf ball. I would imagine for your longer clubs, your driver, you might block them pretty severely, rope hook them, or hit these nice buttercut fades. For your short irons, you probably pull them 30-40 yards, or a snap hook with the occasional dead right block, and that's just a sign that your body is trying to, your hands are trying to, your body is reliant upon the hands, they're reliant upon each other, but because they're so misplaced with each other, that your discrepancies can be all of a sudden just boom. And remember, golf is never a game of good shots. It's how good are your bad shots. That's what gets handicaps down. That's what gets course management down. And that's why the best in the world is so good, is because their dispersions are so tight, and their errant shots, yeah, they still shank them, but they don't shank them or rope hook them every 3 swings. They might do that every 500 swings. So that's why they're so good. But let's look at this, because this might help you see what's going on. And this is a very unusual unusual swing. And I like them. I like swings like this because it just goes to show you that you can still hit a golf ball from any position. Just how much time and effort are you willing to put into this? All right. So definitely open. As a result, hands are going to go a little bit higher. Look at that tilting. That tilting is extreme. So let's see where you should be tilting. So your tilting is roughly 90 degrees from that spine. If you truly turn around your spine, let's see your tilting here. Look at that. Okay. Get to the top lane line fine. Club face is closed. You're in your spine angle still. You're trying to drive it, but because you're so much tilt, the tilt will always get your club to go up and down. Turning gets the hands to go back, and now you can get to that second plane line as you drop. So tilting, turning, you definitely need to feel more turning. But again, this is just a recommendation, because if you start turning without addressing other issues, your swing's going to be horrible. You won't be able to time anything. So you definitely make it work. At impact, you can still see that you are trying to do what you can by standing up, getting out your body's way while it can't release the club face. So you're learning to stand up and pull that club face across and then just hold on for dear life. So this is a very, I wouldn't say it's an unusual situation, because I do see a lot of swings like this and I have to deal with a lot of swings like this. But this is a conversation that you have to have with the professional. And obviously, you're the one in charge. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to fix a small little thing? Then we have to come up with some little band-aid, but band-aids will always fall off and you'll kind of go back to where you are now. Or do you want to do a total overhaul? Now, a total overhaul, it's a lot of work on you. It's not the professional. You have to do the work. You have to hit thousands of balls, do tens of thousands of drill swings at home to learn a new motion and hope they merge together. It could take, as much as 20 years to change the swing to be a more lucrative swing that can be repeatable in a more, quote unquote, stable position. Or it can take as little as 2 or 3 years, but it's definitely going to take years. Okay, so just let me let you know, depending on how much you played. Now, obviously, this is a very fine-tuned swing based on what I see, and I think because it's so fine-tuned, you probably played for at least 5 to 10 years just by looking at this. But hope this helps you. Hope it didn't dissuade you. Keep it up. Make sure you work with somebody. Try not to tinker too much. Get somebody that's educated to help you, and I hope that helps. Let me see where you're from. I'm just going to stay in, let's go Georgia. Trees look very Georgian. Is that a word? Georginian? Whatever it is. I'm a golf pro, so forgive me. Hope that helps you. Let's see what next. All right, next up we have Barry. Let's see if we can find, not Barry, Tanner. It was sent by an email through Barry. So next up we have Tanner from Augusta, Georgia, home of the Masters. That doesn't quite look like Augusta. That grass is a little bit overseeded. Maybe they're overseeding Augusta. I'm just playing. I don't know where that is. I'm assuming you're still in Augusta. I hope the humidity is treating you decent out there. It's been pretty humid in the desert here, but nothing like the East Coast, so I feel sorry for you guys. Okay, 6 foot, 170 pounds, 27 years old, and just wants to hear some feedback. So I reached out to Tanner. I saw his post, and I said, this is a really cool swing to diagnose just because it is very unique. So we have 2 unique swings in this evaluation series. I know this is a little bit off to the side, but we can kind of get an idea. So I'm going to put some lines down there, and then we're going to actually watch this swing. Okay, here we go. Tell you what, you almost got it. You almost got this. Okay, so very unique. Okay, and I love unique swings. I love teaching people the unique swings because I feel like I can help them with what they're naturally trying to do. Now, I would wonder, I wish you would have told me other sports he played, because usually other sports motions fall into this. But we can clearly see a very strong grip. We can clearly see, I'm going to put a spine angle line here. We can clearly see, I don't know, this is kind of shifted up now because of the motion of the camera, but this is close enough. We can definitely see that pickup and the complete shutdown of the club face. Now that club face here is really shut down. It's going very outside the end, very steep, but he gets to the top. I mean, look at that, it's pretty high, right? That club face is pointing up to the sky. So, that's probably 40 degrees closed. Now, as he drops it back down, he's trying to drop in the slot, and he gets really close. Look at that. It's in the slot, so he's found a way to do it. But the problem is he stood up and come into the golf ball so much that there's no room for him to keep turning and tilting. So all he's left with is getting his hands to kind of do what they can and then flip through. And we can see this extreme tilt on the way through. So everything's kind of, stuck here, and then he has to dip down to get his hands to be pushed out in front. And with that strong grip and that close club face, naturally we see where the ball goes. The ball goes well left and just keeps hooking left. So maybe you're aiming there. Maybe there's another green there. But either way, I think what your best option is, let me see. Okay, your best option is your setup looks okay, a little bit hunched, maybe a little bit taller, just get you in a better position. But, if you want to see some ball flight changes, you've got to get used to your hands staying on that lower plane line, in between these two plane lines here. When your arms go straight up and away from the plane lines, they're already so disconnected. I mean, they're clearly on a third plane line way out in front. So there's not a lot of connection as you're turning your body. So I want you to feel like you're moving your arms and hands with your body turn. Now, it's called a one-piece takeaway. Now, I don't really just necessarily teach people one-piece takeaways, but for you can definitely benefit from that. There's plenty of one-piece takeaway drills on YouTube. Just search one-piece takeaway. There's other drills you can do. You can put a club on your foot line, and you can match that club shaft with the foot line shaft and halfway through your swing. So there's plenty of things you can do to help you check up on this. You clearly are very athletic. You clearly can do the job, because to get to that impact position from that takeaway, it takes a high level skill player to do that. So you have a lot of potential, a lot of good things going on here. You're trying to stay in your posture. You're trying to do your best. You're trying to get that golf club to meet that golf ball in some consistent fashion. With such a huge discrepancy in your swing, you're able to hit the golf ball. I mean, that's a credit in itself. But to get that thing to be squared up, you've got to learn how to let those hands roll open. You got to learn how to keep those hands connected with your body, and then just use them up and down, just like a piston. Hands go up and down within reason. We don't want it to go up and shoot through the hood of our car, but we still need to go up and down, and you do that. So kudos to you for getting involved, and I think it's a great thing. If you need more help to find an instructor in your area that can help you out, I can put my feelers out there through our PGA directory and get you going in the right direction. But you've got to check GASP, grip, alignment, setup, posture. Grip's number one. Alignment, make sure your feet are left of target. Shoulders, hips, knees are also left of target in one line, because the club face hits the ball, not your body. Setup, how far are we standing and away, how tall we are, where that ball position is, and that ties into posture too. As long as you're balanced, that's the goal. So I think you're on your way. Let's tighten it up. If you need a follow-up, try a couple of those suggestions. Send me a follow-up video. I'd like to keep you in tune. I want to see the progress. So best of luck to you, and let's see who's next. All right, last up, we have Mark. So Mark, just basically no notes. Thanks for you taking a look at this swing, and understand if you can't get to it. Come on, Mark. I get to all of them. Some might take a little longer than others, but my schedule's getting to be a little bit normal now that we're through summer camp. So sorry it took, a month, but we got to it. All right, let's take a look. Okay. Pretty smooth. Body's trying to stay very centered. I see the right side kind of spinning out a little bit. You can see that there on the right foot. Club face is a little bit disconnected, rely on your hands too much. Hands and arms a little bit going too far. Body's, all in all, it's a good foundation. You can definitely work with this foundation. Not a lot of moving parts, but you just need to start tightening it up. Now, unfortunately, you didn't send me a face on, but that's okay. We can try our best. I'm just gonna, try and eyeball where your ball position is. But let's start out from the basics. Let's look at the posture, how you hold your posture in your swing. Let's look at the spine angles. Plane lines. too much sun. And then also your weighting. So if you take a look at your weighting, your back of your foot, center of the foot, okay. I'd like to see it a little bit further back just to support your hips while your upper body bends over slightly. Your arms are really good, but we need some space in between your arms and your thighs there. You can see how it's just kind of cramped up. So if you back your feet up 3 or 4 inches, a little bit taller in the knees, and bend more from the waist, you'll still get your arms to hang down, but you'll have a little bit more room so you can start to turn. Because if you turn from here, your arms kind of slap into your body. So you develop this kind of slide, not much turn with the hips to get your hands out the way, and now you start to turn. But that momentum of pulling your hands away kind of shifts your hips laterally. So if we look at the front view, you might have a little reverse pivot going on here from that motion. And as you get to the top here, so midway point, club is matching the spine pretty good. It's slightly disconnected, but not too bad. Get to the top of the swing here, a little bit low with that plane line based on your setup, and your left shoulder has risen slightly. So it looks like as you pull in that club back, your left shoulder is raising up. Whenever your left shoulder raises up, or your lead shoulder, right shoulder if you're left-handed, all these new terms, I can't keep up, so I'm just going to say left. So your left shoulder goes up. What that does is it takes away all the pressure from your turn. So if you stay in your tilt and you turn, your body's going to be pressured and stuck there because you can't turn anymore. You can only turn when your left shoulder goes up. Now you start turning more, and when your left shoulder goes up, it also alleviates all the pressure that's been built up on your left lat, and now your arms can really start to cross the line. So if we look at the top of your swing, you see look at the shadow. So your body's basically stopped there, but watch the shadow of the arms. Boom, 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 still going, still going, still going, still going. So now you've crossed the line. When you cross the line, your arm position gets back to here. Now when you're trying to turn the golf ball, as you turn in, some place it's got to recover. So you start to throw back out in front of the golf ball. When you throw back out in the front of the golf ball, your circle gets wider sooner, so you have to develop some spacing for that. So you might start to stand up to relieve that to get that circle to be wider. Hopefully this makes sense to you. As we come on back down, let's see if that happens. You drop in the slot. The shaft almost touches your right shoulder because it's so long and so elongated. Now from here, you're ready to go, but there's no turn because your arms had to catch up, and you chose to catch up soon. So you're catching up, and now you're trying to turn. But let's see what that does to your impact. Start coming up. Look at that, club face is wide open. So you say, oh, I can't really turn. I've got to do this with my hands and arms. So you're trying to turn at the very end, but there's your impact. Your impact looks almost identical to your setup in terms of turning. At impact, your shoulders should be square to the target, which right now they're a little bit open, and your hips should be more open to the target to help that sequencing. So there's very little power here. You're just basically hitting the golf ball with the hands and arms and a little bit of body motion and a little bit of turn. But as you strike the golf ball, now look what happens. There's the turn. So your hips are definitely capable of turning. You hit the golf ball fine, you timed it well. The club face went from very open to very closed in a matter of a split second. So your hand-eye coordination is pretty good. So this is a tough one because if you have good hand-eye coordination, you can get away with a lot more, but you're losing a lot more too. Your consistency won't be as tight. Your club face might be open 5 degrees one day and then 5 degrees closed the next swing, because it does require good hand-eye coordination. Obviously you stood up here, but let's take a look at impact, post-impact. Okay, exit path is a little bit low compared to where it should be. That's a sign the hand's flicking. All in all, I think it's a good starting point, a good fundamental in terms of your athletic ability. Give yourself some more room, back your feet up, hunch a little bit more over with your hips. Don't squat, but lean more over, get that room between your arms and your hands and your thighs, and then start turning more and get those hands out front and feel like it's all one piece, like a boxer. Boom. Boxers don't punch like this. They punch like this. It's all right here. Okay, guys, hope that helps you. Don't forget, today at 6 o'clock on Reddit, we do the Reddit Talk Live, first one for golf, so hope to see you there. If not, I will see you on the next episode 40, I think it is. Big 40. Fairways and greens.
My guys know that they fly, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. Cold, these brothers, my guys know that they fly, know that they fly, know that they ride or die.